Well, folks, the news is flowing in quick for Nintendo Switch 2 today. Really excited over the stuff we have to go over. We do have a brand new information because a 10-minute trailer was dropped for Pokopia today. Did it do enough to convince you guys that it's worth $70? We'll talk about that. We have some probably bad news for Ubisoft today. We're going to get into that. We have some news on brand new games coming to Switch 2 that aren't announced yet, and so much more. Honestly, I love this job. I get to talk about the greatest Nintendo news every single day, positive or negative, and bring it right to your screens. Before we dive in, I just want to remind you, we are giving away 5 copies of Kirby Air Riders. And hey, game comes out next week, so go ahead and get your entries in down in the description or the pinned comment down below. Click the link. It'll take you to a viral sweep website where you can enter absolutely for free. You do need to be 18 or older. And let's go ahead and dive in. And the first thing we got to talk about is the Pokopia trailer. You can see it over here. This is just one of the many different uploads of this all over. This is obviously on the official Pokemon YouTube channel. And the biggest thing about this is it kind of shows what the game is. And I obviously was watching some of it. The biggest thing about this trailer is we learned that this game is essentially a Pokemon version of a cross between Animal Crossing and Dragon Quest Builders. So yes, you can obviously copy your Pokemon's abilities and heal the land and do various things. And you build like your own little sections to make Pokemon pop up. Like you see here where they put the grass down and made a Pokemon pop up. So you build like these habitats. Here you're going to see this one brings like a Machamp and stuff. Like that's really cool. I'm glad that it does that. But you can also transform into certain Pokemon and you can swim across the ocean to other islands. You can fly. That's really cool. But what really gets interesting is when it starts to get into this aspect of actually terraforming and building your world. And it does start to feel a lot like Dragon Quest Builders, and Animal Crossing had a baby that involves Pokemon. And that's what's really cool about this game as we dive deeper into this trailer. We'll come in. This is where you're going to see it turn into a Lapras. You can see the flying going on. And here it gets to the crafting part. And this is where you start to feel really Dragon Quest Builders and Animal Crossing like vibes. So this is what the game is. And it's very interesting to me because honestly, it doesn't really feel like it's worth $70 to me. But Dragon Quest Builders was like a $60 full priced game back when it came out. Animal Crossing was $60, and that was what full price was back then. A brand new Animal Crossing today would probably be $70. A Dragon Quest Builders 3 wouldn't shock me if that launched at $70 in today's climate. So while this doesn't look like it's worth $70 to me, even though I love Animal Crossing, I don't know, guys. I'm not really sure what it is about this game that's just not clicking with me in that way. But I have seen more people actually excited about this game today after this trailer. And I will say they probably should have waited to reveal the price till like at the end of this trailer instead of doing it earlier. Maybe they were trying to get like news they knew would get backlash out of the way before the trailer. But I kind of feel like you should feel confident that what you're presenting here is going to be worth that asking price. Now, maybe they just knew they had to get the price out of the way because they were going to announce a game key card. Again, they probably knew there'd be backlash about that. Nintendo trying to manage, the positive and the negative here. But I feel like just put it all together and be confident with your game would make people feel better. But I gotta say, I've been seeing a lot of positive sentiment towards Pokopia today. When this trailer dropped, people seem to really like it. This seems to really be clicking with some Pokemon fans, but definitely people who like Animal Crossing, Dragon Quest Builders, the cozy games. They seem to really be all about this. And honestly, I'm not going to tell them that they're wrong. This is obviously not a genre of games I play a lot of games in. Animal Crossing is one of the few that I do. And I'm not a huge Pokemon fan, so the Pokemon doesn't add an appeal. But it's like, if they made something like this and it was Zelda themed, I might make the dip. So maybe it's just that it's Pokemon and I'm just not that interested. But if you love Pokemon and you love cozy games and you love Animal Crossing and Dragon Quest Builders, this probably will be up your alley. I actually wouldn't be surprised if this game goes on to sell very, very well. No, I don't think as well as like a mainline game, but do I think that this could potentially long haul get to 10 million? Do I think there's going to be a ton of updates to this game over time? Yeah, I do. And honestly, the more of this we see, the more content rich and packed it looks. And I'm not surprised because it's Koei Tecmo. And these are the same people that made Dragon Quest Builders. Hence why you're seeing some of that Dragon Quest Builders vibe. Dragon Quest Builders is very packed with content. This game looks like it's going to be really packed with content as well. So honestly, guys, look, it's not worth it for me, and I'm not going to be personally spending money on it. But just because it's not for me doesn't mean it's not for you. I'm actually really curious what people think about this game down below. It is also nice that it has this game share feature because you can play multiplayer up to 4 people online, and you can play together and build your island together, and that's cool. So I got to be honest, the game looks much better today than it did to me yesterday, but it's still not really my cup of tea. But I can absolutely see that there's going to be people that love this game to death. I can see the vision now. This is probably how they should have revealed Pokopia, to be honest. But hey, it is what it is. You guys let me know what you think about this down below. Are you going to pick it? Are you more excited for it now than you were? Is it still not for you? Do you still think it's overpriced? Let me know. Now we got to get to some actual sales data because Age of Imprisonment, as we know, released last week. And we have sales data from Famitsu for Japan. That's one of the first regions we always get sales data for. And we're going to put some context on the sales data. As we come in here, Famitsu sales come down. It is the #1 selling game in Japan last week, selling 73,183 units. We see the Switch version of ZA is holding strong at #2 with 54,904 units. You see Mario Kart World for Switch 2 holding strong at #3 with 54,000 units. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D on Switch is holding strong at 32,682. Then we see the Switch 2 version of Legend ZA moving 29,662. Now, this is the interesting one. We see Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake at #6, selling 13,000 copies on Switch 2, ahead of the PlayStation 5 version that actually debuted ahead of the Switch 2 version. The PlayStation 5 version sold 10,261. You can see it's at about 97,467 for Switch 2 and 107,073. If this trend continues, the Switch 2, despite having a much smaller install base than the PlayStation 5 at this time, before the end of the year, could actually end up outselling the PlayStation 5 version. Really shows how much Nintendo's kind of dominating in Japan, that even with a lower install base, it is starting to trend ahead of the PlayStation 5 for key title sales that are popular in Japan, that are on both platforms. So that's fascinating. Donkey Kong Bonanza still holding on in that top 10 at #8 with 8,378. We obviously see Animal Crossing New Horizons. That game's just one of those evergreen titles at 5,422. Plus, hey, there's a new update coming that may have reinvigorated some interest. And we do see the Switch 2 edition of Super Mario Jamboree rounding out that top 10. As we go down, Switch 2 increased sales again week over week. This is the third straight week we've seen the sales actually increase to 90,410. The increase was probably helped by the release of Age of Imprisonment. Now, some people might look at Age of Imprisonment and go, well, Age of Calamity debuted at like 170,000. Got to note that that was 4 years into the Nintendo Switch life with a much larger install base. When you actually go back and look at something that's comparable during the launch period, say Fire Emblem Warriors that came out during the first year of Nintendo Switch, yeah, this actually outsold that. Now, Zelda's more popular, so there's that to consider as well. But I think these sales are actually pretty strong. And if we were 4 years in the future, probably would have outsold Age of Calamity. But we'll see if it has some legs and maybe outsells, Age of Calamity over time, since it is a canonical story and it's reviewing higher than Age of Calamity. So maybe there's some legs here. We don't know. We only have the launch week data. We'll see if it can somehow stay in the top 10 throughout the holiday season. But, we have Kirby Air Riders launching next week, and that will probably debut in the top 10. I don't know how high it's going to be. Again, we've only ever had one Kirby Air Riders game, so there's not a whole lot of data to work with for that. So we're not really sure what to expect for the sales there. But, we'll have to wait and see. Next up, we got this interesting quote from Matt Piscatella. He's got a really long title, but he's basically the main man at Circana that tracks all of the US sales data for video games. Now, Nintendo does not provide Circana any digital sales data for their own games. So whenever you see Nintendo titles tracking in the top 10 or near the top of the charts, this is like without digital sales. So it does show that Nintendo has a very strong physical presence. And that's what we find out in an interview today from Kyle Bossman. We find out about Legend ZA because it is in a very interesting place in the US. Let's hear it from the man himself.
So Pokemon is weird to me in that, the numbers they've put out, Nintendo, it seems to be doing really well Despite the fact that it's like a weird offshoot game that takes place only in one city, it doesn't even seem to matter. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like it's people are enthused and like ready to buy it for some reason.
Well, and Pokemon's the biggest media property around right now. It's leading in our toys tracking. The trading cards are one of the biggest drivers of the entire toy industry right now. The Pokemon cards. It's broken all containment from the video game world in terms of the franchise strength. So yeah, it's the best-selling physical game of the year so far already, and it's only been in the market a few weeks. And yeah, it's going to be one of the big drivers of the holiday quarter.
There you go. From the man himself. Again, we don't have the October data from Circana officially. I believe it drops next week, but he's already telling us right now Pokemon Legends ZA is the #1 physical selling game in the US. Now, obviously on other platforms, digital is a much larger piece of the pie, so maybe it doesn't sound as impressive to you, but considering that it's only had a few weeks on the market, it being like the #1 seller in terms of just physical games is fascinating. And I'm curious to see where it ranks overall amongst all games released this year. Matt Piscatella could provide some context for that, so we'll have to wait and see. And considering that that doesn't include any digital sales, that's quite the impressive start. So we'll have to wait and see, of course, until we get the full data from Matt Piscatella, but I thought that would be an interesting thing to pay attention to. You know what's also really interesting to pay attention to? How about Red Dead Redemption? We've actually been talking a lot about how like Red Dead Redemption 2 has some sort of remaster, remake, or whatever coming, and there's been lots of rumors and leaks around that, but it still hasn't really been announced. And maybe it hasn't been announced yet because it's not the only Red Dead Redemption game coming to Switch 2. Because what if the original is coming as well, which just feels weird. It's on Switch 1. But what if there's a new version of the game coming to Switch 2? And honestly, other platforms. Here we go. Red Dead Redemption, Rockstar Games. This is the ESRB. It is now rated officially for PlayStation 5, Switch 2, and Xbox Series, which Red Dead Redemption was never rated for those platforms. This does suggest there's a new version of the game on its way. And maybe the reason we haven't heard about 2 yet is because maybe they're bringing them both back together in a bundle. All right, I have to interrupt this Red Dead Redemption story because yes, the ESRB rating was real and all of that, and I talked a bit about, hey, it's going to be a bundle or whatever. Well, here's the thing. More news happened. I literally was about to hit upload on this video, but as soon as I went to upload, this literally hit the news desk. Let's check it out. Red Dead Redemption is getting an update for Switch 2. So here is the trailer right off of Rockstar's website. I'll show you. It's from the website in a moment here, but you're seeing here Red Dead Redemption. Again, I haven't seen this trailer yet. This just literally dropped right as I was about to upload my video. So you can see here, obviously it's looking crisper than it looked on the base Nintendo Switch. Just kind of going through here. Obviously, Red Dead Redemption's been around for a while. We know what's going on here with this game. But this is a Switch 2 update. That's what's happening. So that's why it was rated by the ESRB, is because there's a Switch 2 update, not because they're bundling it with Red Dead Redemption 2. But obviously, before you announce Red Dead Redemption 2, you probably want to get this update out so everyone on Switch 2 has the best possible version of Red Dead Redemption. So it's right there. December 2nd is when it's coming. I'll show you right here that it is actually indeed the thing. It has the Undead Nightmare stuff. Here's the article here, and it says, on December 2nd, the Western Adventures Red Dead Redemption and Undead Nightmare will be available for the latest mobile devices and on current generation consoles with free upgrades, the ability to carry over game progress, and a number of enhancements. Step into the events immediately following the blockbuster Red Dead Redemption 2 in the critically acclaimed tale of John Marston's journey to bury his bloodstained past. In his zombie horror companion Undead Nightmare, fight to find a cure for the zombie plague that has overrun the frontier. All these new versions feature the complete single-player experience of both games and also include bonus content from the Game of the Year edition, coming to Netflix and mobile. Let's get to the updates that we care about, though. So, free upgrades on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and Switch 2. So, first off, actually, let's go to the enhancements here. So players on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S can look forward to a smooth 60 frames per second, enhanced image quality, HDR support, and resolutions up to 4K. On Switch 2, we've taken full advantage of this new hardware with support for DLSS, HDR, mouse controls, and the same fluid 60 FPS. Hell yes, at high resolution. They don't give an exact resolution here. I'm guessing that probably means they cap out at 1440p because that would still be higher than 1080p. You can still call it high resolution. Now, the free upgrades here, current owners on PlayStation 4, Switch, or the digital compatible version on Xbox One will be able to upgrade digitally for free. Anyone who owns the PlayStation 4 version can utilize previous PS4 save data and pick up where they left off, and Switch 2 players can continue with their previous save data from the previous Nintendo Switch console. These new console versions, created in collaboration with Double 11 and Cast Iron Games, will be available in the GTA Plus games library and PlayStation Plus game catalog on December 2nd. So there will be a standalone release, but also a completely free upgrade if you already own this game on Switch. Kudos to Rockstar for providing this to us with a free update. Also, obviously, the ability to purchase it individually. We don't have the exact resolution counts, obviously, for Nintendo Switch 2, 4K for PlayStation 5 and stuff, just high resolution for Switch 2 using DLSS. Guys, this is what happens when you cover news. It evolves. I just couldn't in good faith drop this video and have this whole speculation about, oh my gosh, hey, this could be a dual release pack, and then we actually already have the news. That was speculation, but we literally have the news, December 2nd. All right, back to the video. Just wanted to put that out there. Really excited for that one. Look, Red Dead Redemption games, pretty much most things that Rockstar make tend to be among the best games ever made, and again, no exception there. Next, we have some news. Finally, on the Rogue Prince of Persia, the Nintendo Switch 2 version in particular, release date has been announced for Switch 2 for a while, and it's already out on other platforms, so we know it's a good game. The problem is we had no idea when it was actually going to come out. Well, now we do. If we go over to a new about 50-second trailer here, you're going to find out towards the end of the trailer that it's actually releasing on December 16th, and you can see the gameplay here. It's a really good game. It reviewed really well. People really love this one. I'm really happy to see it on Switch and Switch 2 here coming up. Look, the more games that come over, the more quality games that come over, whether they're this style, whether they're obviously, more AAA style, it always makes me happy just to have quality games coming to the platform. The more quality games we have, the better for all gamers, honestly, because again, it's just like when Hades 2 eventually leaves Switch 2 and ends up on PlayStation and Xbox in the future. That's a good thing. Just like it was on PC and now it's on Switch 2. That's a good thing. These are good things. So really, really happy. Obviously, you can play it right now over on Steam and all of that, but pretty excited again for that game to be coming over. Nothing but good news there. Now, we have a little PSA for you guys. We have been talking a little bit about the 21.0.0 update. Yesterday, I went over a video about how it is bricking some docks, but not all docks, the third-party ones, but also that we went over the day before that about all the cool stuff that's in the 21.0.0 update. But what we forgot to really mention is that that's not the only thing with updates. Make sure you update all of your accessories. So the Switch 2 Pro Controller, Joy-Cons 2, and the camera all have updates. For all the devices, access the controllers and accessories tab. There's one option to update controllers and another update Switch 2 camera. So if you have the Switch 2 camera, plug it in, make sure it gets updated. Upgrade your Joy-Cons and your Pro Controller. This is just like a little PSA because it wasn't talked about as much with the 21.0.0 update because there was no patch notes in there for this stuff. But as an example, one of the audio things, the new audio latency things they added with the audio port on the Switch 2 Pro Controller won't actually function properly in the 21.0.0 update unless you update your Switch 2 Pro Controller. So as always, if you are updating your system, some people like to leave it on old firmware, but if you are someone that keeps your system completely up to date, just make sure you update all your accessories as well, the official Nintendo ones. Third-party ones, if there's updates for any of those, you have to pay attention to the respective websites. Next up, I just got to warn you right now, if you don't want to know anything about Metroid Prime 4, maybe turn away before I show an image of the game. Now, the image I'm going to show you is actually just the title screen. It's nothing a big deal. This, to me, is not really a spoiler, but it might be to you. So we are going to look at the title screen of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. So I'll warn you before I show it. But what I want to explain at the moment is the reason we're talking about this is because previews are reportedly dropping tomorrow. I have been talking to some people. There's been chatter online on various forums. It seems that Metroid Prime 4 is having an embargo lifted tomorrow for previews to drop. Why Friday? Beats the hell out of me. But the point is, there seems to be Metroid Prime 4 previews dropping tomorrow. So we're going to have a bunch of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond news tomorrow is what I'm trying to tell you. That's good. That also has some people thinking there could be a direct next week because oftentimes there are previews before a direct. This has been a trend in the past, but it's not always true. So we'll see on that front. The bottom line is we're about to know a hell of a lot more and see a lot more of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond tomorrow. So that's pretty exciting. Now, I'm going to just warn you right now, we're about to show this title page. It's out there. It's from the preview event. I don't see a point in hiding it, but I'm just warning you right now. If you don't want to see it, we have timestamps down below. Skip to the next topic. Think I've rambled on enough with this warning. If you get spoiled now, stop blaming me. Here it is. A title screen to Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. That's what it is. Obviously in a different language there. The Switch 2 edition title screen. Again, as I said, it's nothing special. This isn't like a blow your mind title screen. Nintendo's been a little boring with their title screens for a while. So this isn't really surprising to me that this title screen might be a little boring. Then again, there's probably some animation going on. So we're not even seeing the full thing here. So did it really spoil much? Probably not. It's just the logo saying Switch 2 edition. Let's move on to our final topic here. And this is starting to get a lot of chatter today. And that is because Ubisoft could be in some trouble. Or if they're not in trouble, there's at least a major announcement on its way. Why? They are delaying their financial results, which they never do. Let's get into this. Daniel Ahmed, ZHugeX, he pays attention to this stuff. Ubisoft just postponed its earnings report and halted the trading of its shares. So it wasn't just that they said, hey, we're not going to report our financials right now. We're also not going to allow our shares to be sold anymore. What? It's unclear why at this point, but it could indicate a major announcement related to the company. Yes, this could imply an acquisition of sorts, could also imply some accounting/financial issue. Just remember to freak the F out for the next few days and speculate as much as possible until they announce something. Now, we already know there's been some partnerships with Tencent and others to like shift some of their major IPs into a new development pipeline and share revenue with other companies. But the thing is, Ubisoft has been in some trouble for a while. You can see the postponement of the results here. We're going to postpone the results for the first half. Ubisoft has requested that Euronext to halt trading of the shares and its bonds from the market opening on November 14th, 2025 until the publication of its first half results in the coming days. So it sounds like, it doesn't to me sound like they're, being bought out like Tencent or someone swooping in to buy out Ubisoft. Because they do say that, hey, once we announce the results, you can resume trading. It is possible that like they just needed some extra time or there's some financial problems with how like they formed this new company and they just don't have all the financials in order for it. That's possible. It's also possible the results are going to just be so horrendous that they're just trying to like push off a little bit until maybe they have some sort of public announcement of a game or something. I don't know. To maybe help stem the tide or whatever the negative results might be. They might reopen trading, but there could also be accompanied by an announcement that a huge chunk of the company has been sold to someone. Again, there's a lot of possibilities here. All that's really known at this point is no matter what the reasons are that Ubisoft is delaying their financial results and halting the trading of their stock, it's usually not a good sign. And if you're just like living in the weeds and don't understand what's going on, there's a couple stock markets you can look at for Ubisoft. But if we just glance at Google here, you can see, their stock ain't worth a whole lot. $1.43. It's actually up a little bit over the past 5 days. You look at the month, down 30, almost 31%, almost 44% for 6 months. You can see down 45% on the year. You can see last calendar year, down 49, almost 50%. 5 year, down 92, almost 93%. And you can see the maximum here too. It's kind of crazy because back in 2021, you can see like, hey, they're above $15. At one point, they were peaking above 20, and it's just been a tank job ever since then. They have not handled the post-COVID years very well as a company, just bleeding money left and right to the point that the company, look, when you see a company that used to be worth $20 a stock, now worth $1.43, that's pennies to the dollar. That is not good. That is a company that's in dire straits. And look, Ubisoft is always going to hold a special place in my heart. There are so many games, growing up, the Ezio stuff, all of that was amazing. The Rayman series and so much more. Ubisoft has been part of my gaming life for as far back as I can remember. And while obviously, a lot of my memories here we're talking about are nostalgia based with them, this really doesn't have a lot to do with them today. They're still you know, this at one point was one of the largest, you know, AAA third parties in the world. They were up there with the likes of Activision. They were up there with the likes of, you know, Square Enix and Capcom and, you know, EA and all of that. And now Ubisoft, like how the mighty has fallen. It's kind of sad seeing their downfall, even if, and I know this, it's 100% self-inflicted in how they've been handling game development, game releases, and pleasing customers over the last 5-6 years. And for some people that started even before then. So I don't know what the announcement is. We'll obviously cover it when it happens, even if it turns out to be something quite minor, like, hey, we just needed some extra time to, you know, put some zeros and make sure our periods are in the wrong place and dot some I's and cross some T's. But there's been this idea for a while with the sinking value of the company that one of the only ways it can really recover is to sell and no longer be a publicly traded company. But we'll see what happens. They do have games, you know, in the works. It's not like they're out of business or anything. We know all about the Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag stuff, the remaster, remake, one of the worst kept secrets. That's seemingly coming next year. There's supposedly that Prince of Time, Sands of Time, you know, remake, remaster, whatever they end up calling it. That's supposed to come next year as well. So we know they're still making games. There's going to be an Assassin's Creed after Shadows, because even if Shadows maybe didn't impress with the sales, which we have no idea what they wanted internally, it still sold really, really well and was probably profitable. That's one of the reasons why it's one of the headline games they moved over to a separate little entity. So you know you're going to get more Assassin's Creed. So I don't know, guys. Ubisoft, it kind of sucks seeing how the mighty has fallen, but it is proof that anyone can fall. It could be Nintendo, could be Sony, could be Microsoft, could be EA, could be now. Obviously, when we're talking about some of those other ones, they're so much larger. Like you're talking about $1.43. Like just glancing at Nintendo stock right now, and this is the U.S. value, which is not like crazy. You know, it's up where Ubisoft was 5 years ago. But if you actually look at Nintendo stock, yeah, it's way up there. Like they've never been down at like $1. Like if you max this out, like, dude, they've never been as low as Ubisoft is. Like you're seeing down to like $2, $2.50 in the early 2000s. You're not seeing $1. So like, yeah, it's almost like Nintendo's probably just too healthy to really ever worry about dropping off like that. But it can happen to anyone, you know, over the course of making many, many bad decisions that lead to pissing off customers and no one buying your stuff. So we'll see what happens. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Nathaniel Rumplejants, and I'll catch you in tonight's live stream or tomorrow's video.